Shift the conversation over to Ali Fathollah-Nejad, founder and director of the Center for Middle East and Global Order. He joins me from Switzerland. Ali, welcome back to CNN. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's pick up on some of that reporting that was coming from my colleague in terms of how this was, according to the president, mutually agreed to. Of course, I'm referring to the pause in Operation Freedom. I mean, what do you make of that? Is it fair to assume that there's obviously some sort of back channeling in these conversations that are still ongoing between the U.S. and Iran?
Yes, exactly. So we can surely assume that. And we can also see, it was also mentioned by our colleague, that we've seen some escalation over the past few days as a consequence also of the U.S. efforts to escort ships out of the Strait of Hormuz, which has been a thorn in the flesh of the Iranians, because after all, the U.S. naval blockade is imposing a heavy cost on them because of lacking oil exports. And the Iranians have reacted quite strongly in targeting the UAE's Fujairah oil terminal, which is absolutely key, which provides the UAE with a way to bypass the Strait of Hormuz to export oil. So this kind of escalation over the past few days has actually also showed to both sides that maybe some kind of diplomatic arrangement may be in their respective interests.
And of course, the situation, as you know, in the Strait of Hormuz has been anything but calm and secure, with these sort of residual actions that we've seen, these shots that have been exchanged. I want you to listen to General Dan Kane, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, as he offered an update from the Pentagon on the acts of aggression from Iran since that ceasefire went into effect, and then we'll discuss.
Since the ceasefire was announced, Iran has fired at commercial vessels 9 times and seized 2 container ships. And they've attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times, all below the threshold of restarting major combat operations at this point.
So clearly, it is a significant list of aggressions. And because of that, I'm curious in your analysis, why do you think that the White House, that President Donald Trump has really shown some restraint in terms of not restarting its bombardment of Iran because of everything you just heard?
Yeah, I think from the U.S. perspective, on one hand, the U.S. naval blockade on Iran turns out to be quite successful, as it is impeding the Iranians' ability to export oil. 80% of Iran's oil has to go through the Strait of Hormuz, 90% of which reach China. So this is imposing heavy costs on the Iranian economy, which is in deep crisis anyways. Iran is losing perhaps $400 or $5 billion per day. On the other hand, there are also a lot of costs associated with continuing the conflict, and the economic costs that are imposed on the Trump administration, be it via fuel prices in the United States or the GCC countries' pressure to find a solution and to find an end to the conflict in the Strait of Hormuz. So there are economic costs that are piling up. For now, it seems that the U.S. can negotiate with the Iranians on a broader basis that was assumed prior to that, because last week we saw that, according to reports, the Iranians have revisited and revised their proposal to the United States.
I have a few seconds with you, Ali. Obviously, the 2 priorities right now, aside from the nuclear stockpile, is to restore security on the Strait of Hormuz, but also restore confidence for shipping companies. With this mission on pause from the White House, how does the U.S. government do that?
Well, exactly. I mean, the nuclear issue has been tabled again, according to those reports, by the Iranians. So the revised proposal also talks about the nuclear issue. It remains to be seen whether Iran's willingness to give concessions on that front are enough. But the other major point is that both sides are interested to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but that that everything going to be normalized very soon. I guess that despite a temporary arrangement between Iran and the United States, we're going to have uncertainty down the way, because we also have a lot of other issues to talk to the Iranians. And there is the Israel factor, there is the ballistic missile factor, there is Iran's constant ability to again restart disruption in the Strait of Hormuz through one single shot, be it a missile or a drone attack. So things are going to be still volatile, I fear.
Ali Fathollah-Nejad joining us from Switzerland. Pleasure having you on. Thank you.
Thank you.